Going live. Hello. Welcome to the stream that goes ping for all the Monty Python fans. And the dog's here. The dog's down here. Hold on. Dog cam. Billy. It was Billy's birthday this week. He's 8. Oh yeah. You're a good boy. There you go. Now lie down. Lie down on the bed. Or at least, yeah, go do sit. You're good at doing sit. Good dog. Good dog. I hope everyone is well. Not a lot of stuff this week, but some notable stuff. It has been insanely busy at work. So I have to show this because apparently last week it looked like I was doing devious things when I said I was patting the dog. So I'm just going to stand here actually patting the dog, which works out better for me because then you can't see my face. So take that, people. What happened last week? 2 videos out last week. I think the soldering iron video is far superior to the multimeter video purely because 6 minutes trumps 15 minutes every time. So I'm really working on scripting videos better so that they come out well, so I can say what I want to say without waffling on for 15 minutes for what should have been a video that went, here's my rubbish multimeter, here's what's wrong with it, here's my new one, let's test it. That's what it should have been. So I really tried to do that with the soldering iron, which worked really well, and it is officially in the Dalek repair kit toolbox. I hope you can hear the audio because I'm standing further away than I would normally do. But what's going on this week? Well, there is some new stuff, so I'll get to that in a moment. Major project that is going on. I did start watching a series of videos about somebody building a Dalek, and I think I alluded to that last week when the wiring side of things. But my son, who has a YouTube channel as well about vacuum cleaners, he is desperate for me to finish a project from the movie Mr. Mum. There is a robot or a radio-controlled vacuum used in that movie, and well, that's the plan, is to actually make a radio-controlled version of that vacuum. So to aid that tonight, I have started to dig out motors, and I'm 3D printing some wheels. I will obviously need to come up with some kind of way to give this wheel some traction over different surfaces. I've thought about if it's going to be used on carpet, obviously it would need to have different wheels than if it were going to be used on hard floors. Most of the places that this would get taken, you would have hard floors. So this is a motor gearbox combo from AliExpress with a 3D printed drift car wheel. And the reason it's a drift car wheel is that, well, I kind of have to go right the way back to the beginning. But first, new stuff. First new stuff thing that actually I've had for a little while, and I forgot to publicly acknowledge its existence, and I do apologize, that I got given this, being a Doctor Who fan. Somebody got this when it was removed from the Bumfudge Public Library, and it's a counting book for Doctor Who, so that's nice. And thank you to Lydia for getting that. Second new thing, I was a bit disappointed when this arrived because it's I didn't realize when I looked at the photo on eBay this thing would be actual size, especially when I looked at the photo on my phone. This is a ratcheting screwdriver. Oh, it's sort of, oh, gee, I reckon it doesn't ratchet at all. To be fair, it just kind of, I think it's just a really annoying, useless screwdriver that I waited weeks for and paid too much for. But there you go. When you play the eBay game, sometimes you win eBay prizes. That's all right, though. The other new thing, last edition for the Dalek toolkit, or just in general for in here, is a little torch, because my soldering iron is not holding up well to me using the side of it all the time for melting heat shrink. So That's the plan, Stan. All right, so Jaws, the vacuum from the movie Mr. Mum, Michael Keaton, before he was Batman, before he was the proper Batman, anyway. So in this movie, there is a vacuum that's branded as a Stanley, and it's a dad who's doing the stay-at-home dad thing in early '80s, Reagan's USA. He's from Detroit. Motor industry is under great pressure, and especially from like Japanese car manufacturing, which I think he was also in a movie about later on. So weird. He was in 2 movies about basically the same thing. Anywho, he's doing chores, and they have a vacuum cleaner. The mum calls the vacuum cleaner Jaws, and the vacuum basically has a mind of its own. It starts chasing around one of the kids in the living room. My son thinks this is an amazing feat of cinematic history, and thanks to hours and hours of watching the scenes where this vacuum is in, because it's only in about 40 seconds of the whole movie, watching it over and over again, watching different clips in different resolutions, looking at Blu-rays and stills, and gold that came from the Kirby Enthusiast Facebook page. So thank you, Kirby enthusiasts out there. I can now sort of conclusively get on with this thing. So the original vacuum, and I'm guessing for legal reasons, or maybe America wasn't as litigation happy as it seems to be now, but I would suppose any brand wouldn't want their vacuum cleaners to be associated with chasing children around. It was a Kirby branded vacuum cleaner. We've got plenty of Kirby vacuum cleaners here and in the shed next door, so we managed to get a double of one that looks quite old. It's not quite the same vintage as the one from the film, but I think we'll be able to make it work. So the one in the film is a Kirby Classic 1 Omega. We are going to be using a Kirby Heritage, basically because it's what we have. And with some help from a few different places, I should be able to take this off, 3D print a piece to go on here so it will look more like the original. And basically, I was going to 3D print a chassis that goes in here. I know, isn't that lovely? And this is clean too. I was going to 3D print a chassis to go in here for some motors, basically some motors to sit, try and hold it up. Some motors in there, one that side, one t'other side, so it will drive and it would have tank steering, that one motor will spin clockwise, the other one will spin counterclockwise to make it sort of turn left and right. And then under the rear of the whole thing would be a sort of a rotating caster, so it could, the rear will just follow whatever the driving wheels are doing. That's the plan. I was going to do this, like I say, in 3D print, and then be able to have all the mounting holes and bosses and things on there. This is really heavy already. This is a solid piece of aluminium. The rest of the housing of the vacuum cleaner is also a solid piece of aluminium, plus adding in the weight of motors and a battery, at least one battery. I don't think I could 3D print anything, number one, that would be this size. It would need to be split into 2 parts, which would put a joint in the middle, which I think would then flex a lot. I think I would honestly be better to go with plywood. And then I can, under this strip, I can hide some screws into the plywood so it can be braced forward and back. And it can be in one continuous piece, which would have good rigidity along here. And even though it might flex a little bit, I think it would be okay. So the plan is to make a base out of some nice, I think it's 9mm plywood. And then the motors, well, I've got a few different motor options, but this is the one. I think there are others somewhere that I've just put down. But these were from AliExpress, and I think I bought 4, but I will check. I might have bought 4 in different voltage ratings, so I'll double check in my box of tricks. These, I think, are rated between 6 and 18 volts from memory. 6 volt. Oh, so I've got 6 volt and 12 volt. So I think the plan was that I'd see how it went with the 6 volt. They're the same motors with the same mounting. So if it didn't work on 6 volt, then I'd have to just change it for 12 volt. And I think my speed controllers are already, maybe it's the speed controllers that go from 3 to 16 volts or something. So they should be okay. So I've just sort of jury rigged up. This is a wheel that I found online that I could 3D print that will fit inside the housing. And I have my DC bench power supply set up, ready to rock and roll. So if I just sort of tilt this down, I don't really have any way I can tilt this up so you can see. Do I? Maybe I do. Do I have a way I can tilt this up? Surely a way that would be sort of. Maybe you can. Maybe you'll be able to see it. Is it turned on over here? It is on over there. Let's connect a motor. Now, will it remember the last settings? I think I had this. It was taking about 100 or drawing about 120 milliamps of current when it was last going. Let's see. So 6.02 volts, 124 milliamps, and it's driving. That would be it going full tilt. Now, maybe being a vacuum cleaner, this wouldn't be enough. I don't know if these are going to be high torque enough, but certainly feels like it would be. You know, there's a lot of resistance against my hand to, it wants to run away. So I'm hoping that would be okay. So thank you, Benchtop Supply. You are actually working today. So the next job would be to try and figure out a way to get the dog's now settled down, to make the housing for it, which is going to be tricky. And I don't think there's a great way of doing it other than to get this plywood and just start tracing the shape out and then nibbling away at it. What I'd like to do is trace the entire sort of footprint of the floor head, and then I could work out a center line and maybe go from there. I think that's probably a better solution so I can be mounting these things. So I don't know, if you have a better idea, feel free to share it, but that's what I got at the moment. I'm still waiting on other stuff to arrive. Soldering iron tips haven't arrived. My niece is doing a prop build, and we're waiting for battery holders to arrive. I'm waiting for lots of stuff. And man, September, September's that time, especially down where I live, where it's really, really lovely during the day and freezing at night. It is unconscionably cold at the moment. So here's hoping that things get better. But I can move these out of the way. And I've been frantically 3D printing because it's my son's birthday. And he would like everyone to have an infinity cube in their in their birthday grab bag. But printing infinity cubes is a time-consuming business. And so far it's taken, about 2 weeks of printing when I'm not printing for work over the weekends to get to about 20 infinity cubes. And I need approximately, what do I need? About another 10. I need about 30 because he has invited all the kids in his class to a party. Who knows if they'll all come? I want to say I hope that they do. But in terms of having to 3D print all the infinity cubes, I'm quite happy if they don't. Because that's me. I'm just a grouch. Alright, so here's my wonderful piece of plywood that I just found in my offcuts bin. There it is. Here's my floor head. Now I'm thinking I'll try and, stick to one end of this. I should have gone out and used my miter saw and cut this down earlier, but there you go. Live and learn. So something like, it's going to be close. Sometimes it's worse when something is nearly square, because then you start treating it like it is square, and it isn't. It's only nearly square. So what should I do? I think this is quite flexible. I think I can move it up and out of the way, and that gives me a bit more of an ability to sort of line up. Oh, see, now I can flush this edge, I think. I might turn it around so it's facing me. Yeah, that's better. That is better. Because now I can really get some tracing happening here. The trouble with these bits though is that your pencil's always on an angle. You really, because you're trying to get close to it. Now my head's going to be in the way, probably, but I'll see what I can do. And there's these little clips. I'll try and bend out of the way. I mean, 3D printing would be the best way forward to do this, but it's just not feasible at this stage with my lack of skills and a distinct lack of time and wanting to get this done. But what I can do now is I'll have a sort of basic outline of the base plate. That I'm really actually not concerned about this part at all, or that part. This is the money zone in here. So now I can take a measurement from here, determine a center point, and then do the same along here. And then mark out a sort of a datum line along here where I can start to think about, okay, where do I need to put my motors? I know that my motors are going to be best effective as far out from the center as they can be to give it the widest track and the most balance, because it is going to be quite a top-heavy creation. But I can also then use my digital calipers and measure this thickness and subtract that wall thickness from the whole thing and slowly sort of nibble away at it. But if I keep that center line right, if I get that right, it'll help. So the plan is to have a motor up here, a motor here, and actually have the wiring disappear out here, and to hide the battery inside the base of the dirt bag on the vacuum. There's a few other details on it. Like I say, the prop was sort of Frankenstein together. The base machine was a Kirby, a few years older than this one, but not too dissimilar. It's had some different things added to it. This machine has a square headlight. That machine also had a square headlight, but they put a round lens on it, so that'll be something I can 3D print. There is a strange thing going on with the handle. That it's sort of got like two dowels poked through and a wooden crafted handle with a big S on it. So some of those details I'll be able to 3D print. Some I'll just be able to make out of wood. It's got some bicycle type hand grips on it. So that will be something that I should be able to come up with somehow. The other general details, there are pieces of it. Obviously, this thing won't drive the same way as the actual prop did, because that had a radio controlled car basically sitting behind this unit. Actually, it would have been behind that side of the unit, and they made a vacuum formed aluminium look plate to just sort of cover it up, and it was all sort of driven from one side. So it would have wanted to veer this way all the time, and they would have had to have probably had a lot of trim on it to try and get it to drive straight. There are also clearly, when you look at the vacuum nerd, when you look at the footage, there are clearly two props, just based on the way they look. They, one was sort of a hero prop that did all the driving, and the other one didn't. And one had a lot more gaffer tape on it than the other. It's not just a case of one breaking in between takes and them gaffer taping it up. There are other differences that let you know these are two separate machines. But yeah, very interesting little take on it. But this is something that we should be able to do, I think. So what I might do is I'll probably just be measuring this. I'll go and I've got some calipers, and I've got a ruler and whatnot handy, so I might do a little bit of mathematics to try and figure out the center point of this. And oh, no, that's wrong. There you go, like that. Try and figure out the center point for this, and then maybe think about, I can always go into somewhere that I know and cut this out, and then shape it on various saws, sanders, that sort of thing until I get a good fit. Then I can also add some blocking up here that will give it more stiffness this way, or even use a piece of aluminium or something, and then actually be able to cut a thread into it and have some machine screws going through from the back, which might be a better system, especially if I could find a piece that I could, maybe tap these out and reuse those, or just drill some holes back here and have some maybe some hex head or cap head screws going through. Might be able to do that with the front as well, and maybe do the same thing over here. It really just depends on, these might just be individual braces though, rather than a whole strip along the front, depending on where the motors go, clearly. But interesting. I think it's going to be doable. It's all going to be controlled from an OpenTX style controller. So I've been buying these up for a little while. So this is the one that I have at my disposal at the moment. It needs a module in it, and I need to ask for some help to put to connect an antenna to the Modi protocol module that I've bought for it, because this has got an internal antenna. The reason I opted for this one is my son was driving around one of the Cybermats and dropped the controller, which had a standard 2.4 gigahertz antenna on it, and the antenna cracked, and he's always worrying about that. So this not only has a handle there, it's got no antenna to break off. It does have a 3D printed stand, and it's got this very big lanyard that he can wear around his neck as well. So hopefully he won't drop it. Right, I will. Look, the dog is finally happy. Blair Witch Project camera work going on in a second. There's the dog. He's very happy. I got my jacket on and said, "Do you want to come out?" And he did wake up to that, but I think he would honestly rather be sleeping on the couch at the moment. He's very, very. I think he's feeling the cold with his slightly more advanced age, aren't we all? So I'll open the doors up, and you'll be able to see a little bit of progress out in the workshop at large while I go and get a ruler and maybe a small square. Now the dog will hear the door open and he'll want to go out. Yeah, there he comes. I don't know if there was one other bit of new stuff. Hold on, I'll go get it. It's you might even be able to see it. It's in shot there. Let me go and see. There's still crap everywhere. Sorry. I'm working my way through tidying up the workshop very, very slowly. You know anyone that wants some of these? It is a ProTech 20 megahertz oscilloscope that I have been gifted. I do not have any oscilloscope probes for it, so that's something that I'm looking into. I'm not even sure if it works right now. It's got a standard cable on it. I probably should have just tried it out, but there you go. It's nice and dusty. Also, there's a box making challenge on with Aussie makers, and I wondered whether I should try and enter with my Doctor Who unit style evidence boxes, which are very basic plywood crates that are dressed up to look like they carry something important. So like this. So I usually keep my Cyberman head in this, and all it is very basic plywood crate construction, but inside it is meant for housing props because it's just lined with some yoga mat. There you go. It's got a Dalek eye stalk in it at the moment, and a couple of flags, but something that is semi-helpful for carrying stuff around. So I wondered whether that might be something that the Aussie maker community might like to see. I don't know. Pretty basic. No one's really going to... I'm not going to win any prizes for it, but it'd be fun to do. Come on, Bill. Come on. Come on. Billy, come in here. Your blanket. Oh, oh. There you go. Oh, look, this is nice. There you go. Good boy. Yeah. Nice of it. Good job. Yeah, hello, dog. You're a good fella. Hey, you're a good boy. Hello, Bobby. Oh, I'm glad you like your back scratcher, Mum. I 3D printed a bear claw back scratcher. In fact, I did 2 this week. In waiting for things to arrive, it's nice to be able to make things for people that are helpful. So, cracking on with some measurements for jaws. And I've only just found out this week that apparently these are the worst possible rulers that you can have when you're doing this kind of thing. And I can imagine why now. I kind of wish I had a smaller one, but I'm just kind of going to... So it's about 398 millimeters. See if only I had something to write with. Hello, Bill. Yes, you're a good dog. You are a very, very good dog. And I've just, you know that workshop thing where you lose stuff as soon as you put it there? It is. Found it. All right, so it's 398 this way to its extremities. And I'll just I'll take a few. 74.5 and what is it sort of across the middle here? It's about 74. Yeah. So it's about the same. It might be sort of slightly curvatured, but not too much. All right. So what that means is, okay, if it's 74.5, oh, gee, this is a time. So 74, so half of 70 is 35, and then half of 4 is 2, so that's 37. So you're looking at 37.25 millimeters. So if I set my little combi square to 37 and a Nats Willy millimeters, this should get me pretty darn close to central. So if I just sort of mark a few places on here. I'm sure if I kind of, yeah, near as makes no difference. That's good. Okay, so that's my central, because even though it's on the outside, provided I cut, shave things off, it's still going to be pretty central on the inside, I hope. And I was thinking about how I'd do this if I had the Fusion 360 skills. I would guess once I'd established, what I would probably have done is just had a basic rectangle and then worked on cutting and chamfering or filleting those lines. But I would say this would need to have been a construction line that I would then be able to infer other measurements for back and forth off there. But that's okay. Now, each of those motors has got a little bracket. And the bracket, I should be able to just take this off. The bracket is obviously to go on that way, I think. Now I can take off these little grub screws and figure that out, I hope. I hope you all came here to learn about vacuums. I sure did. Yeah, so I should be able to centralize this then over those marks, and then be able to kind of guess where this is going to be. So I can work out how far these are from the edge, and then I can kind of put that data on there and then try and space it out from the center. Now, spacing out from the center. So if it is 300, well, that's 150. 90 is 45, so that's 195. 8 is 4, so that's 199 that it needs to be across here. So 199 millimeters. And I've just got this, so I'm reading the metric upside down, but at least it is facing me. So here is Grand Kirby Central. This is my Centralis Kirbyus Marcus. And then I should be able to measure either side of that to keep the motors in their correct place. In fact, those bits will be no good at all, will they? Because if I had those on there, they'd run into this. Unless I decided to cut this out, but then you lose a bit of rigidity. But I could also cut it out and reduce the weight. I don't know. But I want the motors as far to the side. So maybe even what will happen is I'll just cut this. Don't worry about the corners and just brace it, this way. That might work. I say it would be better to make this out of aluminium or something, but the ease of doing it out of wood, I'd be able to drill screws into things. Although I am going to need some very, very small wood screws, something like 12 mil wood screws or something like that. I don't know. Will this go on this way? Does it also fit that way? No, it does not. So it has to go that way down. All right, calipers. and engage and 0. 26.45, and then about 4 millimeters in, a little under 4 millimeters in. No, yeah. This is the problem with cheap eBay calipers. .48, so let's call it 26.5. Alrighty, 26.5, 13.25. If I'm not mistaken. Now, what did I say this was? 37.25. So I need to go 37.25 minus 13. I say 26.5. So 13.25. So that's going to be 0. This is my maths here, and I'm meant to be a maths teacher. So if I stuff this up, I'll never hear the end of it, will I? 7 3 is 4. So if I go 24 millimeters in, that should give me the mark there. And then 37.25 plus, no, that'll be 0.5. 10. And if I go 50.5, that should give me the other mark. Let's see if that works, shall we? Let's see if I've screwed up my maths today. Have you screwed up your maths lately? 24 millimeters. It's 24. The other thing, of course, though, being that it's been made of wood, it is quite forgiving if I've stuffed it up. So let's see. Now I'm thinking that's going to be there. So it's going to be somewhere back here. But I'll put a few marks. Just in case. In tonight's exciting episode, a man does some maths. I've actually spent pretty much every night this term relearning maths for my maths class because they're doing algebra, which is fun. It's making a bit more sense to me, but geez, it's 50.5. Am I guessing that I can get 0.5 millimeters worth of accuracy on here? If my calipers were half accurate, I'd use them, but they are unreliable. Does that look right? Does that look about the same distance? I don't think it does. Does that look? Oh, maybe that looks similar. I don't know. Do you think that mark looks a similar distance away from the center line as that mark? It might. We'll see. The good thing is, if I've screwed it up badly, we'll just erase it and start again. I mean, these marks are only here because once I cut it out, I will lose my reference. So I kind of want to know where they're going to go before I put them down, you know. If you know what I mean, like, oh, never do that, James. Never do that. I always have the square pushed onto the largest part. All right, let's see. Let's try and move that. If you are watching this stream, I hope you are not operating heavy machinery. Then again, if you are watching the stream, you might need to should probably be lying down on something soft, I think. So I think the at least doing this now, if I do end up making a video, which the plan is I want to make a video of the build of Jaws, and then the big reveal on the other channel. But I think, now where is my bracket? There. There we go. That's it. That looks about right. That's, I mean, I'm looking at it kind of, yeah, it's not perfect, but gee, on a homemade vacuum cleaner monster build, it's not half bad. So how thick is this casing would be the next question I'd have. I mean, at different points, it's going to be a different thickness, but generally, it is it would seem that it is it's about 2.3 millimeters on the back and just about 2 millimeters on the front. So I think if I shaved off 2 millimeters and 2 millimeters, I would get pretty damn close to the entire thing. Now, can I get 2 millimeters of accuracy from this little square? I'm sure if it was a little bit over 2 millimeters, it would probably be okay. So what I might do is just kind of maybe another one somewhere along the midpoint, another one somewhere here, another one somewhere here. Maybe I can line these up, maybe. I think, and I suppose the first episode of the Jaws build, which I imagine I will get multiple copyright strikes for. I don't think it would ever be a video that would ever make any money. Not that I make any money from my content anyway. But I guess the first video would have to be, what do you think, like research? How I came to realize, maybe research and going through the basic plan of how it's going to look. Or do I need to show this much so I can say, look, I've cut out the base and this is where the wheels are going to go. And maybe that's the first sort of starting point. Maybe the other thing I need to do is mark the center on the actual floor nozzle. And I know that my son will be telling me that I've got any of the Kirby lingo wrong. If I indeed do not call things by their actual Kirby lingo names. Are they going to be far enough apart that I can derive this line? Maybe. Maybe not, though. If it's loose, that's why they make packers, right? I think that's okay. Can I do it over here? Can I get... So I'm going to have to freehand this a little bit. I don't know if I can really. Maybe I can get a little. Not going to be perfect, is it? But what is in the world, hey? So that's going to go down to right there. I just want that rough line that I can start. I'll cut to the outside and sand to this inner. And I can do that at work, hopefully. Maybe. What's going to get really tricky now, though, is having to flip this around and work from the other end. But I keep hitting the 3D printer enclosure with my elbow. So I have no other choice but to do it like this. How are we going to do this with that annoying little meter in the way? Maybe it's going to turn into a lot more guessing, I think. How's this? I don't think that's too bad. Now, wherever I put the motors, they've got to be equidistant from the ends. So I wonder if I can get an overall, if this is indeed the wheel that I'm going for, can I get an overall distance from the motor? Let's just reassemble it quickly. Press on the wheel. And see if I can get a... Oh, should I? I should probably put the housing on, shouldn't I? That would be a better solution. Because that'll give me I'll be able to actually station it where I think it goes. Yeah. Alright. Yep, I've convinced myself. Where is my little toolkit? Don't say, go get it from the Dalek kit. Oh, I forgot I've swapped these around, haven't I? That's a bugger. Ah! Yeah, it's over here. I found it. My not iFixit toolkit, because I'm not sponsored by them, because I usually break the things that I open. I do have another thing I was going to show, but, time. Everything has its time now. I need a Phillips. A Phillips. Ow. Is that going to do these? Yep, that'll do them. Okay. Okie dokie, mister. Well, that's not good, is it? That is. If I open the door, I have to spend 5 minutes persuading the dog to come back inside. Because really, he's come out and realised that he'd be better off in the living room. And regrets his life choices. Don't you, Bill? He's just dreaming that he would be... It's warm in here. I'm actually getting quite warm. But he really is now starting to think, I wish I'd stayed indoors. There we go. Have this sort of tacked on. Lovely. Right, wheel or hub on there. Oh, it's got a... Should probably... There's a flat on it. Trying to get this to line up with the flat seems to be annoyingly difficult. Hopefully I've got it. No, the bugger's jumped off again. That's really bloody annoying. Okay. I think that's on. And that presses in up the backside of that. Like that. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. So an overall length and then maybe an overall position. So let's total package Lex Luger length of 85.7 millimeters. 85.67. I'm gonna, or 85 point, yeah. What was it? 85.8. Oh no. Double check. All right, there. So there. I'm going to say 85 millimeters. 84.8. I'm going to go for 85. All right. So that means from there to there. Now I should also get a measurement from there to the back of the bracket. I should also write down 85 total length, because otherwise I'll bloody forget it, and I'll need to know that kind of thing. All right, to the back of the bracket is 62.5, so 62.6, 62 and a half, somewhere around there. All right. Are you all right there, guys? Still there? You're doing well. 62.6. Lovely. So then that tells me, I'm going to bump into stuff doing this. I'm working cack-handed. So from my Centrino line, 85.8 to the end of my motor. So if I want to have at least, I want to go back here. So that is about 20 millimeters in. So I'm going to mark 20 mil in from the inside of my line, from my imaginary inside line, which is there. I'm going to do the same over here. Give myself some breathing space. Okay, so 20 millimeters in over there and there. And then I want to go 85 point, oh sorry, I want to go 62.6, which will give me to the rear of that bracket. And that'll then tell me where I can start fixing that bracket, essentially. So 50, 60, 61, 62. So it's basically in there. All right, so that is my spot, yo. That's where I've got to put the rear of the bracket. It all looks good now. I'll hack it up with a bandsaw and some files, and then it won't be looking so nice. All right, so there, and then I'll do the same over here. So 62, 60, 61, 62. There we go. Okay. What that now means nope. is that my dry run I'll be able to put that right there and say, there are my holes, and my wheel will go somewhere there, and will hopefully line up. I've got another wheel printing. They're going to be mismatched at the moment, but that should be good for starters. I think that's not bad. One there, one on the other side. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. I think at 56 minutes in, so tonight you've watched me do maths for an hour. And yeah, I think the first video in this next build will just be about, I think it's a series of build videos is probably better. I've always done everything as one-off isolated things, but I'd also like to cut down the waffle. That's what I'm really aiming to do. I'd really like the video to be 5 minutes and give people hopefully the desire to want to come and look at the next one. So that's my plan. What's anyone else been doing other than maths? Oh, look, and this is so far the stash of infinity cubes is pretty good. Without taking into consideration the bear that's in there. So far this is 20, but we need to at least get to, I think, partway down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to get down to here, in case everyone turns up. Hopefully they do, because that would be very nice, but there we go. Hiding them away. Yeah. Any other new stuff? No, other than I'll point the camera back up. Oh no, hang on. I meant to point it down. I mean, just alter this like that. And all. So I've rediscovered lots and lots of stuff for the Dalek. I would like to resume work on the Dalek once Jaws is done. Well, I can't really put any strict timetable on it. I would like to be able to be free to work on the Dalek in my summer holidays, at the very least. For the Jaws build, it's not really a difficult build. It's just this is probably one of the most intensive parts. Now, one part I'm not looking forward to is needing to manufacture some way of holding a LiPo battery in the vacuum cleaner, and so I thought about 3D printing a holder that drops down into this part that's at the bottom of a Kirby bag. If you've ever seen a Kirby, there's a plastic bit on the bottom of the bag that goes into the back of this bit, and I thought about making a sort of sleeve, like a cup holder, with a square cutout that the battery drops into, and then a lead, obviously a wiring loom, that could sit inside the Kirby machine itself, and maybe even try to incorporate the switch that's in the Kirby as the switch for turning this thing on and off. It does need to have an LED. That's not a particularly difficult task. Even thinking of getting an LED that's actuated by a switch on the controller, but I'll need to ask Matt what that kind of switch is called. I know I've got one on the Cybermat. I might even just look it up. I know it's a Turnigy. I don't know how to say it still. I think it's Turnigy. All the Americans say Turnigy based switch, so I'll go with that. But yeah, can't remember what it's called. And just simple things. Now, I've got to try and remember whether I would actually be powering it in parallel or in series. I think it's got to be in parallel, because parallel you double your current, but you have the same voltage, I think. Series is where you have extra voltage, but same current. So I think because I'm going to have I need two motors running on 6 volts, and I'll use 7.4 volts, so that'll get a little bit extra. But that will also power the receiver. And I also need to find out where I can put the receiver, because a Kirby is made of solid aluminium, which is probably going to be a really good insulator for radio signals. So I thought about putting the receiver up in the bag, again, right near where the battery is going to be. So it's going to mean a lot of wire snaking through into the bag, I think. But as there's no motor or anything, because I've tried to make the thing as light as possible, I reckon we'll be able to do that. You've been having a slack weekend, Bobby. What do you do on your slack weekend? I'd love to know. Do you garden? We were in the garden earlier today doing a sort of spring lawn renovation type deal, because all the winter weeds are coming, have finished coming up. So we've been digging them out and fertilizing the grass to try and encourage it to grow again in the warmer months ahead. I mean, the slack weekend's great too. Don't get me wrong. Although I'm terrible at being. I am very slack. I'm very, very slack. I'm terrible at sitting down and doing nothing. I'm really bad at that. Silence is golden. And the dog's asleep again. There's a big sigh coming from the dog. Spending time with the grandkids. Well, you got like that. I'm not a grandpa, but I own a grandchild, and he very much enjoys spending time with his grandparents. Oh yeah, well that's what they're meant to be. They're meant to be a handful. I would say mine's a handful, but his grandma is currently watching, and although it's Father's Day tomorrow, it might be my last Father's Day if I said he was a handful. But she'd say he's no trouble at all, and he's lovely and wonderful, and all the rest of it. As is her granddaughter. Her granddaughter's also a handful, but lovely and wonderful too. All right, Billy, you ready to go inside? Well, we're at the hour time limit. They are well, I'm glad they're lovely. They should be. All grandkids are lovely. I'm looking forward to grandkids as well, because I'm looking forward to the handing them back. Like my mum does. Yeah, feed him full of sugar, let him do whatever he wants, then hand him over. There you go. No, it's fine for me. I don't know why he's crying for you. That's what we get, don't we? That's okay, though. All right, the dog's making noises like he wants to leave. That's the view of a dog that wants to go inside and sleep on the couch again. Is that right, Bill? New stream time next week. I'm going to try and make it half an hour earlier. Yeah, see, he's your angel. Yeah, Billy, it's been your birthday this week. You've gotten older. It's a busy old time, isn't it? September. It's your birthday and your favourite person's birthday and your human brother's birthday, and it's Father's Day. There's so many birthdays in September. It's really, really, really busy. Don't know why I was wishing that it would hurry up and be September. But so yeah, next week's stream will be at 9:30 rather than 10 o'clock. Hopefully, just to make sure that I'm going to try and get to bed a little bit earlier, because I kind of finish and then I'm a bit wired and I don't go to bed until nearly midnight. So if I can maybe bring that back to 11:30, that'd be really good, because I'm getting very tired of late, and school reports are coming up. So I'll try and put a link in the next week's stream to those videos I've been watching about the Dalek finishing off as well. And I think I said technology connections. And another one, it's an Australian, he's a teacher, Colin Klupik. He's an Australian tech teacher. He's got some really nice woodwork videos. Very, very good. Anyway, from us, sorry, I have to prove that I'm patting the dog. From us, we will say goodnight. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your slack weekend. And Billy and I are going to go, and he's probably going to sleep on the couch, and I'm going to have a cup of hot water or something, because no more coffee now, it's too late. Night all, and there'll be an awkward moment of clicking, so enjoy the symphony of 3D printing. Night.